Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. In this video I go through the latest leaked Evocati 3.11 patch notes. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. It is because of these guys I get to make these videos. In particular to OnePilot907 for becoming my latest patron. Thank you so much. So released the other day was another Evocati patch, which is the 3.11D patch. This is quite a significant update, so let's break it down. So testing focus. We still have the previous, like cargo decks, the new station layouts, the BR2 shotgun, the GP33 grenade launcher, and the front-end UI refactor. They have now added the exterior space station green zone removal, player and external inventory interactions, throw tier 1, force reactions tier 1, and the missile and countermeasure updates. So there's quite a lot of new features put in there. Firstly, let's look at the green zone removal. Now it says this is the initial introduction of the green zones, and they will be removing the Armistice zones around the exteriors of rest stops and low Earth orbit stations. Currently not Port Olisar. This is probably because it's the old space station tech, so they can't add things like turrets. This update will allow players to fire ship weapons around rest stops, but FPS weapons will still be locked. This brings a lot of updates to the lore system and station defenses, so I will quickly go over the basics, but I will be covering it in a much deeper video next week. So there are size 4 turrets on the pads, size 6 turret sentries dotted around, and size 10 turrets on and around the perimeter of the stations. Again, still no idea as to what weapons they are yet. They have created a security response system that adds crime stats and spawns security ships of increasing number and strength depending on the situation. So this is the first step to removing these green zones. It does sound like they are going a bit overkill at first, which I do like, make it very difficult for the people who maybe grief, but also challenging for pirates. I think that is the plan. It'll be very interesting to see how this does evolve and gets balanced, but as a starting point, I think it's a great step in the right direction, and I am very much looking forward to watching the many battles and all the mayhem that will come from this. As I said, I will be doing a full-on video that breaks down all of this and all the changes much deeper, so do subscribe if that's something you're interested in. Next up we have the player and external inventory interactions tier 0. Again, we've seen this on Inside Star Citizen, but this allows you to visually manage food, drink, mined rocks and harvested items stored in your personal inventory, moving them between your backpack and suit pockets and any external storage device such as the cargo access on certain vehicles. Now this adds context menus to items by using the right mouse click. That will allow players to drop and split stacks of items. Players can now interact with the back cargo hold of the Greycat ROC to access its storage and transfer gems between it and the player's inventory. So it does look like it's only going to apply to the Greycat ROC for the initial release. Again, this is a step in the right direction, but more of a quality of life feature than anything. It is not physicalized inventories, but it is a prerequisite for physical inventories. So getting it in now I am more than happy with, and being able to interact with our Greycat will be fun. Hopefully we will get more backpacks and things like that, maybe not with 3.11, although it would be nice if they do bring in some extra things to purchase as separate items. We will have to wait and see. So throw tier 1 is the next update. This improves the grenade throwing to make it more accurate and reliable, as well as expanding the throwing mechanic to accommodate other objects in the world. They have added the option to throw items overhand using the left mouse click, or underhand using the right mouse click, as well as holding the corresponding button to prime the grenade before throwing it by letting go of the button, so basically just cooking the grenade. They have also added an AR trajectory display when throwing grenades and other objects. Very happy that they are getting this nade throwing functionality in. Maybe it's something they wanted to improve first before releasing Theatres of War, so again maybe a bit of a prerequisite before we can get our hands on Theatres. Personally though, I would prefer it if they removed the AR display. Kind of feel that takes away from the skill of using grenades, but that is just me. Anyway, next up is Forced Reactions Tier 1. This is using the physics system. Visible reactions are systemically triggered for players and NPCs when punched, shot, and caught in explosions. Actors are made to lean when experiencing strong winds and the g-forces of an accelerating ship, with extreme shifts in wind and ship velocity knocking actors down. Hopefully it won't look so weird now planetside when you're walking into the wind. I hope they've tuned the animation a little bit to be a bit more realistic, but it will also introduce the need for multi-crew ship pilots to be a little bit more cautious while flying, as they could potentially kill all of the crew on board. I'm assuming if you get knocked down you might take a bit of damage, but either way it's going to be a lot of fun seeing people flop around inside the ship. Now, missile and countermeasure quality of life improvements. There's quite a few updates coming to this, and again I will probably break this down in a separate video, maybe once we've got our hands on it so we can show off the differences. But missiles will react to all countermeasures again. Missiles will lose the lock during the locking process if the pilot does not keep the target in the locking cone. Missiles do not have perfect target knowledge anymore. There's a fixed missile selection keybind, and they've added a missile selection HUD widget. Players can select which missile they launch by cycling, which is shown on the HUD, currently unbound but bindable in the key bindings menu. So if you want to see that, you'll have to go into the menu to actually allocate a key for it. Players can only simultaneously lock missiles of the same type if equipped 2 missile racks with a maximum of 4. So some pretty nice improvements there and updates. Again, this isn't the full rework that we're getting next year, but this quality of life update is definitely a big improvement. For countermeasures, players now either launch decoys or deploy noise fields. A decoy is a projectile that emits a very strong signal to spoof missiles, which works on all seekers, and a noise field is a limited jamming space which affects all kinds of sensor readouts, including the launching ship if contained in the field, which sounds very interesting. They've removed seeker-specific countermeasure handling, replaced countermeasure keybinds, updated the visual effects for countermeasures to the new effects system, which I think is now handled by the GPU. They've also added a countermeasure ammo counter to the HUD, extended missile warning HUD widgets, with shorter time to impact display for each incoming seeker type. So again, quite significant updates. Even if this isn't the full rework, I have no idea how all of this is going to work or whether it's going to be better or worse. I will need to get my hands on it first before I really break it down, but it does sound like it's all in the right direction, so we will see. Anyway, a couple of other updates. They've adjusted the AI spawn rate for scavenging missions and adjusted the bonus reward when encountering AI on these missions, which is pretty cool. So if you find AI walking around derelict ships, sounds like you might get a bigger payout for dealing with them. And they've also temporarily removed gin and tonic from the bar menu. I have no idea why. They haven't explained that one. Anyway, there are 24 bug fixes. I'll only read off a few of them. The Misc-reliant shields should now correctly cover its turrets. The Aegis Retaliator shields should now cover the lower thrusters. And the Banu Defender shields should now cover the exterior door. The Microtech factory line employees should no longer A-pose from a distance. Chaff and flare visual effects should now play correctly. The Freelancer series should no longer pitch downwards on takeoff, and the Buccaneer and Reliant series should no longer pitch upwards on takeoff. Interactable items in hubs should now be present again, like cups, magazines and teddy bears. They have fixed a bug that was allowing players to sell commodities and mineable resources at any distance while the ship was occupied by another player. That's a good fix. The ore deposit terminals in prisons should now be able to be interacted with again. The call elevator button in Area 18 and Lorville's hangars should now function correctly. The multi-tool should now be stored in long-term persistence correctly and persist between resets. Players with a crime stat should no longer become trapped at rest stops by turrets attacking their empty ships. That's good, especially with this new green zone stuff. And the frosted visor should no longer remain after players have respawned and wiped their visor. So they've also done 5 client crash fixes and 3 server crash fixes, plus a main thread deadlock fix. Now, there are only 12 known issues now. There are a few for the new green zone changes, as you can imagine, but they will hopefully be fixed before rolling it out to a bigger audience, I would hope to think. Some players may be unable to connect to any pre-existing voice channels. FOIP and video feed showing players does not appear in the window during calls. Attempting an automated landing fails and freezes the ship in place till the landing gear is retracted. Some ships and vehicles can be left in a broken state after spawning, and pretty much the rest of the known issues were from previous builds. So, quite a long list of patch notes there. The big changes are now in the 3.11 build, and it is great to see this missile and countermeasure rework, throwing, inventories, green zones, planetary visuals. I really hope this will make 3.11 experience much better than the 3.10 experience. Also, there is a ton of bug fixing going on, and they are crushing some of the more irritating bugs as well. So I'm getting more and more excited for 3.11. Let's just hope that it releases in a reasonable time frame. But that is the latest leaked Evocati patch notes. If you do want to keep up with all of the leaks and all of the news and information going on with Star Citizen from week to week, do ensure that you hit that subscribe button and tick the notification bell if you want to be notified every time a video goes live. Hit the like button, it really helps out the channel, and if you want to ask me anything about the game, if you're new or if you're a veteran to the game, be sure to hang out over on twitch.tv/supermacbrothers. Everybody is welcome. Thank you again to my patrons and channel members. It is because of you guys that I get to do this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.